Hello, I'm Jacob from Intrepid Protoworks. I'm a consultant in the field of human factors, and today is a little bit different as up until now, we have focused primarily on using tutorials for Python and statistics. This video will be neither of those, but rather we will dive into a concept which has been central to the rise of the field of human factors over the past several decades. That concept is called Telepresence. Now, for those who may not be familiar with this term, let's go ahead and break it down. So the root tele comes from the Greek word for far, far off, or far away, and presence means to be in a location or state or fact of existing. So telepresence simply means to exist far away. Now, there are applications which you have probably never known life without, which fall into this category. For example, some of you may be watching this video on one such telepresence device. So let's go ahead and start with that, the telephone. We know what tele means, and well, phone just means sound or voice. So far away sound, telephone. Telephones have become a significant part of how we relate to others around us. This is advanced further by the rise of smartphones in the recent decade. Phones have been shaped by what we, humans, have wanted from them, and consequently, human factors has been coming along the way, helping with that endeavor. Some of the research goes back more than 50 years. For example, Fitts' law has helped us to understand the size of buttons to use. Our understanding of how we hear sound and our understanding of linguistics has also been central to the development of telephone technology. So telephones in themselves could be an entire series of videos, but that's not really our focus here tonight. So now we transition to a technology that has only really become popular in the past 10 or so years. So now let's talk about another telepresence application, our ability to not only transport sound, but face. So applications like Skype are also, confusingly enough, called telepresence applications. We have all seen a lot of big tech companies going in this direction now as well. In here, we are looking at applications which transmit your face across the world. Not only do you get to hear someone's voice, but you get to see their face and their reactions to different things. Now we get into some more interesting topics. We see a lot of excited research coming our way in recent years. Areas like mobile telepresence. This can include things like drones or robots, which work almost like a mobile Skype. These sorts of devices let us go places which may be different from where we are at present and may otherwise be difficult. In the simple example of a drone, we can go up in the air and see a literal bird's eye perspective of the area around us. This can be done for recreation, research, security, military, and a litany of other reasons. Militaries around the world have been using this type of technology for years. A fellow who finished grad school a few years before me and is now a civilian military contractor, he was hired to work on the user interface for drones. He told me a story about when he was first working for this company and how, when he was being given a tour, they were looking at soldiers who flew drones. It was something of a control room, is what he described. While he was being shown around, one of the people piloting a drone took their headset off somewhat aggressively, set it down again somewhat aggressively, and then walked out of the room. My friend then asked what was going on there, and the person giving the tour told him, "Oh, he probably got shot down," and then moved on. Now, I don't know how true that story is. I'm not sure on that. However, it brings up an interesting point all the same. The concept of mobile telepresence allows us to do dangerous things without risking our own lives. That soldier who may have been shot down, they got to go home to their family. Politics and other military uses of drones aside, it is amazing that at the end of the day, they went home. Now, in another application which is becoming popular, we see these devices which looks like a tablet on a scooter. You see them advertised as a way to interact with your family from afar. These applications certainly have their merit. However, I personally think their power resides elsewhere. So let's take, for example, a security guard in a building. They need to check on certain places and they need to maintain a certain schedule while doing so. They also need to maintain a certain level of awareness of the overall location they have been charged with. Rather than patrolling an area far off physically, they can go there remotely. Certainly not applicable for all situations, but there are a lot of times where a guard is there to report information to the police. We see the same type of telepresence taken to the extreme with NASA. Their rovers, for example, are telepresence devices which allow us to explore worlds other than our own. These devices have pushed our understanding of places like Mars further than what we would have been able to otherwise. Now, these sorts of devices change considerably in how humans interact with them. Every motion is planned out carefully in a rover that's on Mars, and there are a great many sensory tools which can gather information on its surroundings as well. These are individual telepresence devices that take entire teams of people, thousands of hours, and millions of dollars in just one device. Some of these devices have operated longer than maybe some of these viewers have been alive. Take, for example, the recent rover that's mission just recently came to an end. Some of you may not have even been alive when that mission went into its development phase. Over many years, NASA has sent a number of telepresence devices which has served in many different capacities. We have had a number of landers going back decades. We've had several devices there now, including orbiters, landers, and a rover, each of these with very different purposes. However, they all still serve as a way to teleport our presence to another location. So the last part of this video, we'll talk about where, at least I think it's possible for telepresence to go in the future. So, as I hinted at, I think it can go even further than this. There is a concept which is sometimes called humanoid telepresence. This takes what we discussed up until now to a comparable extreme. Not necessarily often teleporting our face, though often our voice, but rather it teleports our entire capacity to interact with an environment. Our hands, in a very literal way, can reach out and touch someplace 1,000 miles away, 2,000 miles away, 10,000 miles away. The distance is really only limited to our technology. Now, as a matter of fact, some of this already exists today. There are some projects which include humanoid telepresence. One such project, again going back to NASA, is called the NASA Robonaut. This device is intended to be able to replace at least some of the extravehicular activities, or EVAs, which need to be done by people. However, the potential does not stop there. Imagine a specialized doctor being able to lend their expertise to someone in need thousands of miles away. Well, you guessed it, that also already exists. Today, there are actually quite a number of surgeries which have been completed with these devices, Some of them are like the Da Vinci machine that you may have heard of, or even had a surgery performed on yourself or know a loved one who has had such a surgery performed. Those are just a couple of early examples of what is some extraordinary and exciting technology. We have only seen the start of what we can do. For example, we could possibly use the idea of humanoid telepresence to reduce the need for lethal force. Actually, there are many non-lethal options for, say, detaining a criminal, which become available if there is no longer a concern for also disabling the person using it. This could also be applied further to military applications. Again, I know this is likely controversial. However, I am sure many of you who are watching this also have family who have at least some point in their life been deployed abroad, or possibly you yourself were deployed abroad. Imagine being in a conflict, then being shot, and simply take your headset off and then tell your boss you're taking a break. And at the end of the day, you head home to your family. Or imagine being able to put on a headset and be immediately on site for a medical emergency at a geriatric facility while an ambulance is on its way. At the end of the day, the possibilities are near limitless. Some of these are unquestionably good. Some, we're going to have to spend likely an entire generation figuring out what the ethical use of this technology is. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and do not forget to like and subscribe.